Thank you, bud. Did you turn that up? Did you turn that up? Oh, my. You're cold too, aren't you? Oh, man. I'm lightheaded. Hold on a second. I gotta know where I am. Let's see. Let the Spirit move today. Hold on.
Chad, I'm going to take a moment to make a special announcement. If you're cold, you can put on a sweater. The rest of us can only take off so much and then we have to stop.
Now that is valid. We can only get so low on the clothing here. So, I'm not Adam, you're not Eve. Amen. God wants you to have some clothes on in His house. What you do at your house is your business. All right, Mark chapter 1. Mark chapter 1. Mark chapter 1. So we're looking through Mark chapter 1, which I think has been for me encouraging and exciting, and I pray for you it's the same, because we're looking at this resume of Jesus Christ. And we've related every week to your resume when you apply for a job, and you put down all of your experience, and you go ahead down to the references, and you put down these names of individuals that you hope that when they make that phone call, they'll give a positive report about you. Can I get an amen for references? Amen. Now what's worse is, remember I said when they call your reference and they don't give you anything nice to say about you, you find that out. So you want to let them know, hey, I need your help in this, and don't put them on the spot that they don't know somebody's calling them. So Christ has done the same in the book of Mark. He's applying for the position of servant. He's a servant leader. He's our greatest example. He's got his credentials. John the Baptist came before him. He's singing his praises. He's talking about him. He's letting them know. He's talking about his character. And if you've got good character and you're in a position of trust, and all of us are in positions of trust in our life and in our family and with our children, if you're in a position of trust, then you should have good companions in your life. If you're in a position of trust, you want to keep good company. Let me say it again. If you're in a position of trust, you want to keep good company. Amen. It's important that we have good company. It's important that we have our children have good company. It's important that we have good company and the church has good company. And then, once we're hired, it comes down to this. Are you competent? Can you do the job you said you could do? Now, many times, remember this last week, we started jobs. Have you ever been in this situation? You started a job and thought, uh-oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. And it just takes time. Everything's new, so it takes time. So there's a confidence that we should have in ourselves because the Lord has confidence in us. The statement that we shared with you, the same as this week, competent people are able to lead with their life. You know what it means to be competent? It means you can get the job done. You're able to do those things. Remember last week, I love the passage last week, the book of Mark, chapter 1. There's this, notice what's taking place. He's in the synagogue. There's a man with an unclean spirit. I'm back in 23. I'm just paraphrasing. Go back and read it. And he began to cry out, and he says, leave us alone, Jesus. What in the world are you doing here? Are you going to torment us? Or are you going to condemn us? We're on the same level. And he's kind of interrupting everything. And Jesus rebuked him, and he noticed the words in the King James, hold thy peace. He said, be quiet. It was one of those moments where Jesus said, shh. Yeah. Anybody, now, between last week and this week, is anybody close to you shushed you that angered you? Can you raise your hand? No. Well, look here. Boy, that frustrates you, doesn't it? Craig shushed you? Cindy, she said, I know the line. I heard her talking. I know the line. I'll shush Chad, but I don't use the word shut up. Shh, shh. You ever shush your dog? Like my dog was barking. I'm like, shh. Like I had some authority over that thing or something. It's frustrating to be shushed. Now think about this. Those who shush you are assuming a position of authority. Christ in Mark 1 as this spirit inside. We said it's those who are morally impure, begins to speak out and cry out and cause confusion. By the way, that's what Satan does. He causes confusion in your life. And the one who's causing confusion, Christ has authority to say, shh, leave my children alone. You have no reason to talk. You'll like where we are this week. It's a real amazing point. Competent people are able to lead with their life. I'm in Mark chapter 1. I'm picking up in verse 29. Remember, Mark's really unique. He uses words like forthwith, and you can see the other things, immediately and straightway. And that's Mark's attempt for those who are reading it to show Jesus as a man of action. That when Jesus does or says things, it happens. Jesus is a man of action. He's dealing with an audience that wants people of action. Matter of fact, it's really fitting for our generation. We're a generation that wants action, and we want it now. Right? We want it now. So if we want a baked potato, what do? Do we bake it or do we microwave it? Can somebody help me out? You microwave. Why do you microwave it? Because I'm hungry now. I want it now. So, competent people are able to lead with their life. Notice verse 29. And forthwith, so after all this had taken place that we just paraphrased, forthwith, when they were come out of the synagogue, the translation says they have left the synagogue, they entered into what? The house. Circle, underline it. You don't need to know whose house. It doesn't really matter. It's important that we see it later. We don't have to know if it's your house or my house or this one's house or that one's house. We just got to know that Jesus left and he entered into the house. But I'm going to translate it. It's the home. And I want you to know today how important your home is. I believe Satan has wrecked the home. Regardless of who's in the home, he's got the mind of our children. He's got the mind of our parents. He's kind of trickled his way in through the TV and the radio. And it's not that we're opening the door and saying, come on in. We're allowing him to be carried in by many, many things that we do and say. The home is really important. What's really important for us to know today is Jesus, when allowed, will enter your home. And really what's neat about church is really neat, and sometimes we're off on church, by the way. I just want you to know that. And it's not to condemn or chastise, it's to remind us church can be off, because sometimes church becomes a clique and church is not a home. And a home is really important. Well, what would you rather have? Now, you don't like crowds of people? Can you raise your hand for crowds of people? My wife and Mom, they're going to New York next weekend. Mom's like, I'm a nervous wreck. I said, oh, it's not bad. It's just like the day after Thanksgiving. All the time, Mom. All the time. She's a nervous wreck. I can't do it. I get fidgety. Like if there was a crowd of people with the heat in this room, I'd lose it. I think I'd have a meltdown. I just feel trapped. I don't know like that. But let me tell you something about the home. You ever been out in public or out somewhere, and even at church, let's be honest, and you can't wait, because church Sunday morning, like we get up and we put on certain clothes or shoes, and sometimes we'll wear things that just kill our feet. Ladies, I have a pair of brown shoes. I think I paid like $2 for the thing. It feels like it anyway. But it's the only brown pair of shoes I got that matches one suit I have, so I will cram my feet into those things. And by the time I get home, I'm telling you right now, you talk about blisters and sore. That's just one pair. So Cindy's like, I'm sick of that. So she went out and bought me a nice pair of brown shoes. So thank you very much. And those fit. But my point is, well, I couldn't wait to get home. You know why I couldn't wait to get home? You know why, like when you work a shift at work, or you're somewhere and you're away, you've been on vacation, you've been away for a while, there's no place like home. Turn to your neighbor and say home. There's no place like it. Now, here's what's scary for us, and you gotta keep this in mind, because some of this is personality, and some of this is being young, and some of this is just not caring. It should be a concern to some degree, no matter if it's major or minor, when our children, our husband, our wife, our family doesn't want to be home. There's something special about being home. What is it about being home that you like? One, you can go home and you can be you. Can I get an amen for that? So here's what I know. When we come to church, you're probably not all the time who you are. Can't wait to get home. Anybody here got a special t-shirt you wear, and even if it's like 70, Cindy's got one that's like 35 years old or something. I'll come home from work, I'm like, boy, you're glad to be home, aren't you? Except she'll wear it to Walmart too. That girl up here. There's no shame in that game right there. She doesn't care. You get home, you take your shoes off, you wear no socks, you wear socks, you got your baggy pants, you got your t-shirts, you're watching TV, you got your shirt on, you got your shirt on. Whatever you do at home is your place. It's your place of comfort. And you don't want anyone interrupting that. Let me tell you where Jesus wants to be. In home, in your home. Matter of fact, this is why the church is important. The church is a home. And if we're not a home and we're not comfortable with each other, regardless of where we came from and who we are and who we know and how we were raised and what we look like and what we don't look like and this and that, that's not home. That's a clique. And church should be a home. It should be a place where we communicate, fellowship, and we're able to be ourselves. Wouldn't you like just for people to be who they are? Competent people are able to live with their life. So, it says, forthwith they came out of the synagogue, they entered into the house. And in particular, in this passage, it just happened to be the house of Simon and Andrew, and he came in with James and John. Let me tell you something that's really important about the home. And here's what you'll find in a home. You'll find love and joy and peace. You'll find patience in the home. You'll find kindness and goodness. You'll find faithfulness in the home, gentleness and self-control. And all of those things are found in the home, or they should be. And if they're not in the home, then there's work to be done. Because people should be themselves in the home. And the church is no different. People should be who they are. As a matter of fact, Jesus has been saving sinners because he found them the way they were. He was able to move them out of their current condition. Do you know what a hypocrite is? A hypocrite is someone who pretends to be something they're not. Church is guilty of creating and developing hypocrites and sending to the world. We don't want to be a church of hypocrites. We want to be a church that is family. We want to be a church that is home. Competent people are able to lead with their life. He comes into the home of Simon and Andrew, James and John, and I just imagine instantly he begins to feel comfortable. He begins to feel love and joy and peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Home is a place of comfort. It's a place to be yourself. But notice this here, according to verse 30. Simon's wife's mother, mom-in-law, lay sick. Circle, underline the word. Because not only have we identified home, we've identified sick. And it doesn't matter at this point what she is sick of or sick with. We'll know that and we'll apply that to the passage. But here's what I want you to know today. I want you to hear this. I want you to circle and underline the word sick. Many people, let me say it again. Many people in our homes are sick. And they're not all physically sick. There are many who are emotionally and spiritually sick in the home. Do you know what Jesus wants to do? He wants access to your home so that he can identify who is sick. I want you to hear where we are, hear where we're going. I think it's an amazing passage. I want you to see this. Forthwith he came out of the synagogue, he entered into the house, and when he was in the house, he notices here, Simon's wife's mother lay sick. In particular for her, it's a physical ailment. Verse 30 says she's sick of a fever. She's in bed with a high fever. That's the best place to be. Can I get an amen? Amen. If you're sick with a fever, you need to be home. Don't send your kid to school. Don't sit around being cough. All right? Is that good? You ever been out and you're like shaking hands and it's like, how you been? Well, I've been sick. I woke up this morning with a high fever. Well, you got your hands out, man. Put it in your pocket. Or at least show me. Put some hand sanitizer before you shake, right? Yeah. We're bad for that as people. We got bad habits, right? It's good to be home. Home is a place of safety and comfort. This particular lady, she's sick of a fever. And the King James says anon, which is right away. They told him of her. They tell him of her. They told him. So notice this here. When you're in a place of comfort, you're more apt to tell what's going on in your life or in the lives of those that are closest to you. When you're in a place called the home, whether that's church or it's in your home or whether it's in a community or maybe you've created a home atmosphere at work or whatever it may be, you got to be really careful what home is and where you define it and where it is. We shouldn't be playing home. We should have home. Somebody here, we shouldn't be playing home, we should have home. And home is a place of comfort and peace and security. Don't you feel safer at home? We should feel safe at home. There's many of our children who don't feel safe at home. Then the church has work to do. Because the church, which is home and family, can fix the home structure. You know what happens if we fix home? We fix the church. You know what happens if we fix the church? We fix our communities and our neighborhoods. You know what happens if we fix our neighborhoods and communities? We fix our state. You know what happens if we fix our state? We can fix the nation. But it's got to start at the home. It's got to start somewhere, a place of safety and comfort. Sunday school should be a home atmosphere. Kevin and I were talking about that. Competent people are able to lead with their life. She's sick in bed with a high fever, and right away they begin to tell her because they're comfortable talking to Christ. He's in the home. You ever notice when somebody, just sit down, make yourself at home? I say it today, if you're busy, I say, make yourself at home. I want you to feel like you're at home. That's tough to do in a strange place, I understand. I was like, well, if I was at home, man, I'd lay down in this pew. Why do you tell me to make myself at home? If I was at home, I would have my Coca-Cola and my Dr. Pepper right here. Why are you telling me this? And then you say, don't bring it in here. Or, so make yourself at home. Home is more than just our feeling physically. It's emotionally and spiritually how we're connected to those in our lives. So they begin to talk to Jesus. They're really comfortable with him, and he's done some amazing things. The question is he competent? When he applied to be a servant, can he get the job done? Many in our homes are sick. So they tell him, once Jesus is allowed in our home, he singles out exactly what ails us. And if you were here Wednesday, exactly is an amazing word that God uses. He's a God of measurement. He's a God of numbers. You'll see that in a minute. And he does things exact. He's exact in what he does and how he does. This is an amazing creator. A wonderful creator. Now notice this here, where we are. Simon's wife lay sick. They begin to tell him she's particularly sick of a fever. And they went to tell Jesus. And notice this here. Once he's in the home, he knows exactly where we're sick. He knows exactly why. It's one-on-one. He catches you when your guard's not up. Your guard is down. And he came where? Where did he come? According to some translations, he came to her bedside. Matter of fact, here's what I want you to know spiritually. Jesus will come to you wherever you lay sick. It just happened to be to her a bedside. But Jesus will come to you when you're drunk, and he'll come to you when you're high, and he'll come to you when you're broken. He'll come to you wherever you may be, but he'll come to you and he'll sit by you called your bedside. It don't have to be in the bed. It could be a spiritual condition in life that you have. And Jesus, who is the Son of God, he's the King of Kings and he's the Lord of Lords, and he comes to you wherever you're sick. I think it's an amazing picture this morning. It's a picture our world needs to hear. It's a picture that many of you need to hear and abide by, that we're listening to who Jesus is and what he's able to do. And the Bible says he came to her bedside, and I love this passage, verse 31, this verse, and it took her by the hand. And isn't that a place to console and love and comfort? And he lifted her up, according to verse 31. As a matter of fact, the Bible, some translations, and some of yours have it, he comes to her by the bedside, he takes her by the hand, and he helps her physically sit up. Let me tell you something. Of all the healings Jesus has done, he says, take up your mat, take up your bed and walk, or you can see again. There's something you've got to do before you walk. And the number one thing you've got to do, and it's not crawl, I know we've heard that, the first thing you've got to do before you walk is sit up. You got to get something inside of you. Something stirs inside of you to move. Do you hear what I'm saying? Something inside of you, the Spirit of God. Remember when you're in the presence of Christ, things begin to cry out. When you're in his presence, you're able to have something stirring. Now, he could sit there. Have you ever tried? Now, think about this. Children are bad for this. You ever tried to lift someone up that's fallen or hurt, and you're just dragging them around in a circle because they don't have enough strength to sit up? Has anybody testified to that? Has anybody done that? Well, yes, my mom. I was thinking that too. Bless her heart, she will fall. And you'll come down here and try to pick her up, and it's like pulling a sack of potatoes. She won't fight, no strength, no get up. And I'm like, Mom, you got to fight a little. You got to get up. You got to help a little. You ever tried to move somebody and they're not helping you? So you know what Christ does? He comes along. Now, he can do a couple different things. He can jerk you. Sometimes if you ever jerk somebody, jerk their arm out. Christ can jerk on you till he jerks your spiritual arm out, or you can just help him help you. And he can come along and grab you by the hand, and spiritually, you got to move in a direction. You got to be able to sit up. Notice what's taking place here. She's in bed with a high fever. He comes to her bedside. He takes her by the hand, and he lifts her up. He sits her up. And notice the word that Mark uses in verse 31. What's the word? Immediately. It's in Mark's way of showing action. Jesus is a man of action. Immediately the fever left her. And notice what she did after that. I wish he'd have put immediately or something. I'm not trying to change his word. But just notice what she did after that. Immediately the fever left her, and she did what? Ministered unto. Now, I was thinking it would be him. But notice what the King James is. What's the word they use? Them. Here's what people do who've been changed by Christ. Not only do they minister to others and worship Him, they minister to the world. Those in their comfort zone, those in their home, those in their community. This is really important for us as believers and followers of Christ. As a matter of fact, it says she prepared a meal. Some of your translations will say that. She got up, she began to work, and she ministered unto them. Before you see the victory you desperately need, and someone here today or someone you know needs this, you must have help sitting up before you have the strength and courage to walk out. There's someone here, there's someone who's listening, there's someone you'll talk to who has an addiction in their life that needs help. There's someone here that has relationship problems. There's someone here who has financial problems. There's someone that we'll talk to that has emotional problems and spiritual problems. There's people we run into every day that are not born again. And the moment that they pass from this world will be an eternity in hell, separated from the love and care of God Himself. And some of us, and many of us, are sick in the home. And if we're sick in the home, we're sick at the church. And if we're sick at the church, we're sick in our schools. And this disease is spreading rapidly through our community and our children and our adults and those that we come into contact with. Is Jesus competent to get the job done? I think Mark is showing us He is. Immediately she began to minister. Some of us have been born again. Christ has helped us sit up. We've been able to walk, but we're not helping those in need. Matter of fact, what He does when He gets to the bedside, do you think this is a chance or do you think it's an opportunity for her to be well? He could have come to the bedside and grabbed her by the arm and jerked her out of the bed, drug her around the floor. Now, matter of fact, Mark 1 wouldn't have sounded as good if she'd done that, would it? You think it would? If we was reading Mark 1, Jesus came by her bedside, jerked her by the arm, drug her out of the bed, drug her through the floor. She couldn't help herself. She wouldn't sit up. She wouldn't do anything. Jesus was trying so hard to be King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That's not as powerful to preach. Do you know what's powerful? When Christ comes into the home and those He's close to give some effort back. Amen. And you can see movement in the passage. Jesus comes by the bedside, takes her by the arm, she sits up, He's helping her sit up. He lifted her up, and immediately the fever left. There's an opportunity for you today to be born again. There's an opportunity for your addiction to leave your life. There's an opportunity for your relationship to be stored. There's an opportunity for your finances to be different. Now, let me tell you something about finances. You can come in today $1 million in debt. I can tell you I can preach as hard as I can preach, and you'll walk out this door more than likely $1 million in debt. Can I get an amen? Amen. Unless something happens. A true miracle. So be careful what I say with finances. I'm talking about a new pattern in your life. Can you get the job done? Is He competent to do it? Notice what happened in verse 32. And at evening, or at even, when the sun set, they brought unto Him all that were diseased and them that were possessed with devils. Do you know why they would do that? Go back to verse 28. What did we say last week? Immediately, another word from Mark, His fame spread abroad throughout all the region round about Galilee. So when Jesus does things in your life, you're excited to tell someone else. And everything He had done began to spread rapidly. As a matter of fact, when He's in the home, which is a place of comfort and security, it's a place to be yourself. All these people, notice what took place. At the evening, they brought unto Him all that were diseased and them that were possessed with devils. Why? Because His fame is spreading quickly. Last week we talked about a public Jesus. This week we talk about a private Jesus. And Jesus takes those things that are private and it draws the public's attention. Jesus is taking what is private in the home and what's changing and transforming your life and your children's lives. He will take that and it'll draw the public's attention. I want you to hear that because you're part of the solution. You're not part of the problem. The Bible says that the whole city, which we've identified as a town, was gathered together where? At the door. The door is a position or a place of access. There's a door to your heart we always preach about. There's a door to your soul, the heart and soul. We're talking about a door to your mind, a door to... All these people gathered at the what? Door, circle, underline. They gathered at the door. Why did they gather at the door? Some translations say they gathered at the door to watch. You know, people are intrigued by Christianity. Like, why in the world do you get up on Sunday after you worked all week and go to church and sing those songs. Why in the world do you sacrifice a Wednesday? Why in the world do you talk about it? Why did you quit being the person you used to be? Well, because Christ came by my bedside, wherever my bedside was. And He took me by the hand and He helped me understand there's strength and power inside of me to move. So I began to sit up, and when I sat up, He just moved me to be able to walk. And you know what? I started telling people what happened in my life. Listen, they may come against us. There may be things that ridicule and persecution, but no one can take away what God has done in your life personally. Amen. And if He's done something in your life, I encourage you today to share it with a lost and dying world. It's important that we do these things. Notice what the Bible's saying to us. They began to gather around at the door. What they gather to watch. You know, people are watching, but they may not be interested. You know what it means to watch? They're looking at you, and they're evaluating or kind of engaging at a distance what it would be like to be a part of something. We do that all the times in our life, whether it's I can remember being a kid and I was part of the trading card club. Trading card club. Wow, something else. You took your baseball cards and you traded them around. But I used to watch at a distance, like, wow, they trade that. Then you get engaged or you get involved. Now, I want you to notice something. Many of us are engaged at a distance at many things in our lives. Some of it's the church. Some of it's Christianity. Some of it's the home. Some of it's our job. Notice what took place. They're gathered at the door. They're gathered at the door to watch. And guess what they got to see? Verse 10 and verse 34. And He healed, what's the word? Many. Turn to your neighbor and say, many. Many. Say it again real loud. Many. Do you know what that means? Let me tell you what it means and what it doesn't mean. He didn't tell us exactly how many He healed. Did you agree with that? Many doesn't tell us exactly how many He healed. But here's what I know about God. God is a God of numbers. He's a God of numbers, and He knew. Now I want you to notice this here. And He healed many. Although we may not know the number, God's a God of numbers. And He knows, I want you to know this, God knows every detail of every person who was changed in that home. He knew everything that had taken place. He doesn't have to write about it. He doesn't have to share it. Even though we're enthused and excited to do those things, God knows whose life He has changed in the home. He knows whose bedside He's been by. He knows whose hands He's held. He knows who's hurting. He knows where you are. And He knows He's confident to get the job done. Hallelujah in His house today. Amen. Listen, Jesus changes lives. You know what our world needs? Less of this and more of these. You know what that means? We need doers. People who go out and do. I'm telling you, it's easy to find problems. It's difficult to solve. Christ is a problem solver. He can get the job done. Notice what the Bible says. Many were sick. I mean, it doesn't matter what we're sick of. We can go through the whole list again. It doesn't matter what we're sick of, but many of them were. God's a God of numbers. He knows every detail of every person who was changed in that home by the one who can change every detail of our hurt and our suffering that we're experiencing. He knows every detail and He can change it. Many were sick of divers diseases. You know what that's translated? Various. You know what I would say to you to remind you? Many in our home are sick. Our homes are sick. Whether that's the church or it's the home that we're going to, many are sick. And He cast out many devils and demons. And I love verse 34. I want you to underline the last part. I want you to see this. He cast out many devils or demons. And notice what He did. King James says He suffered not the devils to speak because they knew Him. Here's the translation. He didn't allow any demon or devil that He brought out of any person to speak. He didn't allow them to speak. You know what He said? Shh. Shh. You're not coming up in this home and running your mouth about what you want this person to do when I'm in a position of authority. Do you know what happens? You ever notice this in your life? I want you to hear this. Addictions, relationships, brokenness, pain, suffering, loneliness, depression we can go through. Have you ever felt like they had a voice of their own? That every time you fight to get away from it, it's like they speak and draw you back into it. You ever notice that? Whenever you're tempted and you're trying to move away from it, it's like whatever you're tempted with has a voice of its own, and it keeps speaking into your ear when you're alone and you're isolated. It's going to be okay. Nobody will know. It's just one more time. It won't make a difference. Nobody will know this. You can hide. You can put on a face. You can be a hypocrite. You know what Jesus said? When I draw these things out of you at your bedside, shh, I will not allow them to speak to you because you are important to me. You know that's what you do when you shush someone. You're in a position of authority and you don't want to hear it anymore. He'd heard it enough. All the noise, all the chatter, all the commotion at the door. I love the verse. He didn't allow them to speak. So the question is, can Jesus get the job done?
Amen.
I believe he's competent. I believe he's applied. I believe he's on the job. He's fixing Satan's mess. And here's what I know today as we close. Competent people are able to lead with their life. Every head bowed, eyes closed, no one looking around.